I was only the 17th person in the history of the United States to have the position of Surgeon General of the United States. It's a 4-year statutory term. You go back on active duty, it's what they call a flag position. You're an admiral. Generals and admirals are called flag positions. But when you get in that position, the first thing that you realize, independent of the party that nominated you, and by the way, I was the first Surgeon General to be confirmed unanimously. The whole Senate said yes for my ability to be Surgeon General. So I'm serving Democrats and Republicans. And what's more important is, as a doctor of the nation, you're not the doctor of the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. You're the doctor of the people. And sometimes politicians have to say things that are not scientifically correct because, you know, they spin things left or right. But my job was always to tell the truth and speak truth to power, truth to science. So when things came up, it wasn't that I distanced myself. I just always told the truth, which was, you know, almost a reportable event these days in Washington. Okay? the fact was when stem cells came up, when pro-choice, pro-life, abortion, Plan B came up, there was clear scientific thoughts that should drive what I said, and that's what I did. Now, politically, people said, well, we're going to do abstinence only. I said, well, you can, you're elected. But abstinence only, based on the science, is a failing value proposition. Abstinence as part of comprehensive sexual education will work. But you have to give people choices, okay? So when things are driven ideologically, theologically, where there's no concern for the science behind it, that's where I departed from the administration. But other times when I thought that they were focused, I was okay with that. That's it in a nutshell.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
So right now we have pretty large deficits and kind of a large national debt that I and a lot of the people in my generation are probably going to end up having to pay for, you know, a lot of the poor decisions that have been made. So I'm wondering what you in the Senate will do to try to help reduce the deficit, or what your opinion on that issue is.
I'm happy. Thanks for the question. You know, there are a number of things that reasonable people can do. First of all, it's clear that over the years, both parties have spent more money than they had. And the debt has been transferred, consequently, to your generation, and if we're not careful, to your kids' generation. And we can't afford to do that. We have to look at the budget and look at it just like you look at your budget at home. I mean, you all may want to drive a Ferrari or a Maserati, but you end up driving a Chevy because that's within your budget, right? Or a Ford or whatever. And so I'm thinking, we have to go line by line and look at those things. But we have to be careful as we go line by line not to disadvantage those people that are already struggling every day. Poor people, the middle class who's trying to just, you know, make their house payments and so on. So there are tough decisions to be made. But really, politicians have to stop pandering to the public, and they have to start telling them the truth. There are things we can do. For instance, within our healthcare system, which is really a sick care system, it's estimated that we have probably 25 to 30% expenditures that are fraud or redundancy and not needed. Last IOM study, which came out last week, says there's probably $750 billion a year wasted within the system. So let's get rid of the waste, okay? Let's redo our tax system so it's fair across the board for everybody, okay? That it's transparent, that we understand it, that each and every one of you know where your tax dollars are going. Let's start having elected officials being held accountable, you know, for their decisions or their indecisions. So there are things that we can do to get the economy going again. I mean, because part of it is stop spending, but then what do we do to grow the country? That's what we have to do. Provide incentives for businesses, you know, to hire. Right now, small businesses are just trying to stay alive. Big businesses have lots of money, but because the economy keeps on a roller coaster, nobody wants to invest. The government has to step up and provide some incentives and provide some guidance, and in fact, create an environment that allows all of you to be confident again in your government. And right now, 90% of the people in every poll say, we don't trust government anymore. They failed us too many times. So it's a lot of issues that have to be done. But we have to spend less, and now we have to grow with innovation and entrepreneurialism to be able to generate more dollars, and then we get back on track.
Can I have a follow-up question?
Yeah, sure.
Can you vote to repeal the Bush tax cuts?
That's a tough one, and here's the issue on the Bush tax cuts right now. It's a very complex issue.
Yeah.
If we repeal them now, who gets hurt the most? Who gets hurt if we just make tax everybody? Who's going to get hurt the most? It's the poor people in the middle class. Okay? People who are making a good living, they may pay a little more, but their house is not going to be in jeopardy. They're still going to make their car payments. They're still going to take vacation. So I think what makes sense right now is if you did repeal it so that you protect the middle and lower class, if you will, okay? But on the other hand, if others at the higher level get taxed temporarily, I don't have a problem with that. But what really is needed is we need comprehensive tax reform. We keep putting Band-Aids on a broken system year after year. Congress continues to fail us. Look, we're in gridlock right now. The fact is that we've had our bond rating dropped because our elected officials failed to take action. We're being threatened with a second bond rating drop. We have a debt that's eclipsing our gross domestic product of about $16 trillion a year, and Congress is getting ready to take another vacation. I mean, if you were in the real world and you were in a business and you had a fiscal crisis and you did that, you'd get fired. Okay? I mean, it's really embarrassing. So, you know, they have to step up and take care of us. And the real issue is, do they really understand that it's about selfless service? Okay? It's about not them, but it's about them having the privilege to serve us. And I can't believe that you'd be considering taking a vacation when the crisis that we're in hasn't been resolved yet.
What do you think about Obama's Deferred Action Program undocumented?
Well, the question was what I think about the Deferred Action Program. You know, it's another Band-Aid. I think we have to stop kicking the can down the road and solve the immigration crisis. We have to, and my feeling strongly, I'll state it right out front, Pathway to Citizenship and the DREAM Act. We should do it. And President Bush and Senator Kennedy. When I was Surgeon General of the United States, you had two politicians who didn't agree on most anything. President Bush and Senator Kennedy came together and figured out, and they basically showed us what statesmanship really was. Even though they disagree on so many other things, they said we owe it to the nation to solve this problem because it's creating a distraction and a problem. Congress failed them. They had the plan. We call it today the DREAM Act, we call it today Pathway to Citizenship, but ultimately that's the fairest way to deal with this and not disadvantage especially children who most of them don't even know they're undocumented until they apply for a job or they go to college. And what are you going to do, deport them to a country they've never been to? Or they were there when they were 1 year old? It doesn't make sense. Let's get the kids educated and then give them an opportunity to prove they want to be a citizen. You know, work in the Peace Corps, become a soldier, become a sailor, do something in teaching. I mean, there's so many things that they can do to add value to the nation, and it makes us a better nation. Thank you very much.